2,700 horsepower. This was the sound of freedom back then. Here it is for you again today, folks, making its debut performance here at the Rhode Island Airshow, your A-1 Skyraider. Bringing that airplane back in a few minutes, give you the full demonstration. But on deck, it's the United States Army National Guard, their UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter, performing for you today and a little bit later on in our combined arms demonstration. We'll be blowing up the field with lots of high-flying, exciting action for you with the UH-60 plus those two C-130s we were telling you about. The sound of freedom, 2,700 horsepower, is at your service. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on your feet, Mr. Dan McCue and the Collings Foundation's Douglas A-1E Skyraider. The Skyraider, a versatile airplane in the 1960s and 70s, was the American single-seat attack aircraft that saw service between the 40s all the way into the 80s, and it became a piston-powered, propeller-driven battle wagon. Served not only in the U.S., but a number of other countries. The aircraft that you're seeing today is not the single-seat version. This one was used actually for electronic warfare in the earlier days. It's a battle wagon for sure. Got the blue room on the back and Dan McCue up front flying this thing. Today, this airplane is owned and operated by the Collings Foundation from Stowe, Massachusetts. And as we said earlier, this particular aircraft served right here on Quonset Field in the 1960s, where it served as a utility and training aircraft. But Skyraiders of all types were operated by the United States Navy, the U.S. Marine Corps, and the United States Air Force. They also saw service with the British Royal Navy, the French Air Force, and the Air Force of the Republic of Vietnam. And right now, from left to right, the Collings Foundation Skyraider. That is a big bird, spanning lengthwise over 38 feet. It's got a wingspan of 50 feet, the height of the tip of the prop all the way to the bottom of the ground of over 15 feet. It's a huge airplane, ladies and gentlemen, with an empty weight of just under 12,000 pounds. When it's loaded and ready to go, it's got a maximum takeoff weight of nearly 25,000 pounds. And that R3350 big radial engine up front, producing just over 2,700 horsepower. It can propel that big bird all the way up to about 322 miles an hour with a cruising speed of just under 200 miles per hour. This is a big machine. To be designed in the 1940s, this very airplane actually had a higher bomb load than the B-17s of its same generation. My oh my, how the technology has progressed. Just incredible. And that big A-1E Skyraider. Foundation, of course, not only known for having the Skyraider now, this is their newest aircraft, but also for their barnstorming bombers, the B-17 and the B-24 that have been touring the country now for a long, long time. I usually know the tour stop number, but I apologize today, I don't. The Collings Foundation, they come on my show all the time at WarWordRadio.com. You can follow along with their latest tour schedule. Maybe you would like to ride the B-24 or B-17. You can do it with the Collings Foundation's help. They've been flying veterans and members of the general public for a long time on their barnstorming bomber tour, and soon they'll be able to fly you right here in this airplane, in the Skyraider. Coming down now from left to right, listen to the sound of that engine. So maybe you've always had a fantasy of flying in a B-24 or a B-17. and putting yourself back in time and taking part in a real bombing mission. Folks, the Collings Foundation would love to talk to you because right now they are signing folks up for their fantasy bomber camp. You can fly in one of the B-17s, you can fly on the B-24, you can fire the guns, you can even drop bombs. Now they're 200-pound cement bombs, but you can drop them using the Norden bomb site, the famed bomb site from World War II. The Collings Foundation can make that happen. They operate not only the B-24 and the B-17 on the tour, but they also fly a P-51 and a replica ME-262. And today, they're operating two of their other fighter aircraft. They're operating the A-1E that you see in front of you today, and they're also going to be flying the F-4U Corsair. But now, on a smoking low high-speed pass, Mr. Dan McCue. Imagine the weary crew of the Skyraider after a long mission over Vietnam, wanting to return home to their carrier. The pitching deck of that tiny ship would look like a postage stamp from that perspective. The hardest part in some cases would be finding it, but once they did, that crew on board the A-1E would want to make their way back down to the ship, have some dinner and go to bed and get ready to do it the next day. Watch now as Dan McCue brings that Skyraider right back down to the runway here at historic Quonset Field. He's got the flaps down, the landing gear have already been lowered. He's going through his landing checks right now. And before long, after its debut performance, folks, you're going to witness history as the A-1E Skyraider returns to Earth after its debut performance here for you. Hard to believe that this aircraft flew off this runway back in the 60s while it was still in service. And it's back today, flying for you today, in honor of all of our airmen and men and women, past and present, serving this nation. You know, folks, we'll see a lot of airplanes today, and those airplanes are only props. They simply are here to tell the story of our brave men and women who have served this nation and who have protected our freedom that we so love today. Watch now on Final Approach as the A-1E returns to Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dan McCue and the Collings Foundation's A-1E Skyraider. Ladies and gentlemen, for our friends at the Collings Foundation for bringing that gorgeous Skyraider here today. Our thanks to Dan McCue for flying it, his entire crew. He'll be back later today flying the F-4U Corsair.